Okay, first of all, I am not a salesman for any aircraft, I just fly them. And by way of background, I've flown a turboprop now for 6 years, 4 of them in TBMs and 2 of them in EPICs. My first turboprop was a 850, and my second turboprop was a TBM 930. So I've had 2 TBMs, and for the last 2 years I've had an EPIC. I've got about 500 hours in each of those 3 airplanes, so I've got a balance of what they are. I am satisfied with the EPIC, and I can tell you a few differences. For example, let's talk about the cabin space. EPIC is 4 inches wider, 4 inches higher. My brother's 6'4", he could not get into the front right seat of a TBM, but he can easily get in the front right seat of my EPIC. I've had a business associate who's 6'8", weighs 250 pounds, and he got in there just fine in the front right seat. TBM full fuel's rated for 700 pounds of people and cargo. The EPIC's rated full fuel and 1,100 pounds. So right away you've got more. The EPIC has got more horsepower. You take off with 1,200 horsepower versus 850, and it's noticeable on takeoff. Climbs a little faster, much faster to get to altitude. Cruise across the board somewhere between 5 and 15 knots faster than the TBM. And one for me where I'm in the Intermountain West here in the United States to get above weather, particularly in the summertime, it climbs to 34,000 as opposed to the TBM at 31,000. Quite a difference. Fuel consumption. At 31,000 in my EPIC, I was consuming about 65 gallons an hour. In my EPIC at 34,000, I'm 45 to 50 gallons an hour. Across all the altitudes, the EPIC seems to burn less fuel. Now I'll get down to the real reason why I like the EPIC over the TBM, and it's called landing and where I fly into. I fly into a lot of rural airstrips. If you're from Brazil, you probably think in meters. Think a airstrip that's about 900 meters in length and probably 12 to 15 meters wide, and fair asphalt. And I emphasize on fair as an optimistic. It's pretty rough. The EPIC has a trailing link landing gear. The TBM is stiff-legged, and when you land, your prop is off the ground about this far in the EPIC, and it's about this far on the TBM. And the #1 problem with TBMs for pilots is prop strikes. If you review it, you have to consciously hold the nose up on the TBM. TBM stiff-legged. When you're on the ground, you have to have the inertial separator in. Do not have to have it for the EPIC, and the EPIC intakes are all much higher off the ground than the TBMs. So I feel much safer going into where I've got debris on the runways. I'll tell you another thing. I forgot to tell you my most favorite thing about the EPIC over the TBM. It's crosswind landings. I go into a lot of airports where we have significant crosswind landings, and the EPIC is far superior because it's longer. And you've got a better ability to pull that nose around and line up with the runway and put it down. And the trailing link makes it very easy to do a crab landing and land it. So the landing characteristics alone win for the EPIC, as far as I'm concerned. No, I've had to manage the weight on my TBM, but I've never had to manage it on the EPIC. And truth be known, you know, if you've got 6 people 200 pounds, that's 1,400 pounds. You know, maybe you take off, most of mine, I only need 220 gallons. I don't need a full load of fuel. So you just lighten up a little bit on the fuel. But I think it'd take off full fuel, 6 people in their bags, no problem. Now, I've said a lot of positive things about EPIC. Let me say a few positive things about the TBM. EPIC's in their first iteration of seats. Their seats are hard. You'll want to get a cushion. The seats in the TBM are much more comfortable, particularly if you're smaller. If you're larger, you have no elbow room. If you're flying with a co-pilot, you're going to be touching elbows in the TBM, no matter what size you are. But the seats are more comfortable. They have a writing table in the back, so if you got the facing seats, you can pull out a fold-down table and you can do work in the back. EPIC doesn't have that. I wish they did. But all minor, all in for my flying in the Intermountain West, my best testimonial is I sold my TBM and bought an EPIC. That's all I got to say.